With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman, and this show is brought to you by none other than our brand new sponsor, Subash Technosis. Subash Technosis. Now, Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company located in India. Okay, so you know you're going to save a lot of money. And they offer all kinds of services. I've been using these guys for 10 years. Okay, I've known SEO Subash since about 2015. Oh, no, 2010. About 2010, I've been working with this guy. And they do all my press releases. They've done search engine optimization for me. They've done a lot of rework on my websites and stuff when I needed backlinks and things like this. Now, the company's grown tremendously. They got over 250 employees over there in India. So they can do a lot of stuff for you. They can outsource your customer service. They can take those phone calls for you. They can do data entry work for you. They can build websites for you, real quality websites. Now, a lot of people, they'll build their own website, then they'll go to a search engine optimization company and try and get the traffic to their website, right? Step one, step two. But that's not how you do it. You got to go to a company that understands search engine optimization to build a website for you, because it has to be built in, okay? And these guys can do all that kind of stuff for you. Data entry, content writing, if you need article marketing or press releases. These guys do press releases, software testing, banking services, all kinds of stuff. Check out Subash Technosis. You can go to their Facebook page, Subash Technosis, and give them a like. Let them know that they've joined the Opperman Report family and that we're supporting them. And also, too, if you go to OppermanReport.com or AwakeRadio.us, you can find a link to Subash Technosis. Click on that link and check out their site. Also, check out OppermanReport.com. That is my radio show website where we have the members section. We get exclusive content. You can go to the members section and you can see all kinds of stuff, extra shows that we do during the week. We record shows that are exclusive only to members. We also have a documents section and videos too. We just released, just in the past 5 days, the video of the execution of the search warrant on Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. So we have that up there. We also have all the Trump lawsuits, with Tiffany Doe and Jane Doe, Katie Doe, I think it is. And we have that up there. And there are affidavits, too, which you won't find a lot of places online. We have all the Trump lawsuits with the Trump University that I got from Steve Brill over Court TV, sent those to me. 14 different motions and pleadings in the Trump. So all kinds of great stuff, videos, and all kinds of fun stuff in OppermanReport.com. Now, we've got a big show for you today. Ron Aigner, who works with the family of Mark Taylor and Donna Taylor. And Mark Taylor was one of the kids at Columbine, okay? And I'm going to try and get this story here and figure out what's going on. For some reason, Mark Taylor's been, I believe, locked up in a mental institution ever since the Columbine shooting. And that's what we're going to try and find out. I tried to get in touch with Donna Taylor one time through her Facebook page, and she said, yeah, she wanted to come on the show. Then I tried to contact her through email, and she never got back to me. But then just recently we got a hold of Ron Aigner, and he's going to give us the rundown on what's going on with this story. So, Ron, are you there?
I am.
Great. There you go. Okay, sorry it took so long with the commercial. We got a brand new sponsor. I'm really excited about it, so I want to make them happy. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Now, Ron, tell us about yourself. Who is Ron Aigner?
I'm I guess almost, if you would think of a guy that's just concerned with his community, that's how I came into this. I have a background of being raised in the town of Littleton, and became a member of the Littleton JCs later in life, 15-year member, became their president. We're the ones that used to run the parade. A lot of these town customs or things that we created back in that day, and quite concerning when Columbine happened. And I got involved with it because a man who had put crosses on the hill by the name of Greg Zanis, I call him the crossmaker. When I invited him to take a parcel of land that I had and put his crosses on it, he accepted my invitation, and he also became a good friend of mine. And quite honestly, it was very traumatic to have been around those crosses during these families' grieving time, where they needed as much support as we could possibly provide for them. So I have some success stories of how these contacts back in those days have become memorable experiences. But quite honestly, I entered into this because the crossmaker had created a controversy as to how many crosses he put on that hill. And it became my concern when I was being contacted by family members that didn't think 15 was the number, that instead there should be 13. So we start into why do we think how many crosses? What do we do to try to understand how many crosses should be represented when, in case we don't know anything about the two shooters? So that's basically how I got into it. I'm a local resident of the area. This incident that we'll be discussing, called the January incident, occurred on a road that's half a block from where I'm speaking from. So simply because I'm still being a community activist, I'm quite concerned that this truth that we have tried to present has been horribly mistreated to the point where they created a false narrative.
Oh, okay, Ron.
Columbine.
Before we get to that,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, before we get to that, let me ask a couple questions. How old are you?
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
I'm 66.
66. And what'd you do for a living during your life?
I was an aircraft mechanic trained by Eastern Airlines, so I've had some responsibility in my life, and I've treated my responsibility towards the traveling public the same way I do in anything. I do not lie about dead children or maimed children.
Okay, and that's a big industry down there in Littleton, Colorado, right? The aircraft industry and all that kind of stuff, right?
That's how I ended up here. Going back to my childhood, we came out in 1957 because my father worked for the Glenn L. Martin Company, which is now the Lockheed Martin.
Gotcha. Yeah, Lockheed Martin's a big company down there as well. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, for a lot of the audience is young, okay? I'm 53, you're 66. So Columbine is fresh in our mind, but a lot of the audience is like 18, 20 years old, okay? Why don't you explain to us what Columbine was? What happened there in January in Columbine, Colorado?
We ended up with a horrible massacre of some children, and we've discovered that it could have been prevented. And had it been handled properly months before Columbine, then they had the opportunity to have prevented it.
Oh, to prevent what?
And
to prevent what? What was Columbine?
The
what
tragedy.
happened? Okay, what happened at Columbine?
They had an opportunity to get things under control because they had prepared a search warrant for Eric Harris's house and did not serve it. In not serving it, they did that for nefarious reasons. They did not want Eric Harris to appear in a courtroom and explain why he was building bombs. And they missed their opportunity because they know that that would have brought up Harris's complaint about having been mistreated sexually.
Okay, so wait, stop. So what could have been prevented is that on one morning, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold got a bunch of bombs and guns, and they went into their high school, and they shot up a bunch of kids. How many kids did they shoot there in Columbine? Do you know?
With all the injured, I'm thinking in the neighborhood of 40.
Okay, they shot about 40
15,
kids. And
15 dead people, including the shooters.
Right. And how old were Dylan and Klebold?
They were like 17. They were seniors.
17-year-old seniors in high school. Okay. Now, the public story is that the reason why these kids did this is because they were part of the trench coat mafia and that they were being bullied, and that's why, and they went back to get revenge against the school. Now you're saying that... Okay, now
that's where I can explain to you just by typing into your computer, Jessica Siegel. Now I'm stumbling on that. Going back, this article indicates that was a spin doctor by the name of Hugging the Spotlight. Jessica Siegel, Hugging the Spotlight. Save yourself some time, just focus on the media city, and you're going to see where they put a spin doctor. And they took that spin, and that's where they led the public to believe this was about two boys who are angry at Trenchcoat Mafia. That was not the case.
Okay, then Ron, let me stop you right there.
It was.
Who do you think it was that inserted this spin doctor into the story to spin it?
I think at that point the FBI was in charge.
FBI.
Obviously, while you've got your pen out, just write these two names down, because these were people that were in Mark's life, telling him he'd better not talk even when he was in the hospital. This was before I met him. I was with the families of the dead.
Okay, so Ron, let's
people
stop.
Like Don Anna.
Ron, let's stop right there again. Ron, let's stop right there again.
Yes, sir.
Because no one has any idea who Mark is yet. Okay, we haven't told them. So now...
Yeah, I'm stumbling around here thinking that we have an audience that has... can remember about Columbine, when in fact that's really what I like to do, is try to help people through it by just taking them to these particular websites. So if you're just to reread later on that one particular article, then you're going to see where that's where everyone was misled.
Okay.
So quite obviously that's where I want to help you people understand how you were misled.
Okay, great. But keep in mind also too, a lot of people driving in their cars, and they don't have a pen in their hand. They're not sitting in front of a computer. So they can't look stuff up. So, now... Yeah,
hugging the spotlight is all I think you have to remember.
Okay, so now...
The reason that's what I do when I'm contacting people by email, is I can basically lead people through this by simply being a tour director. In other words, amalgamating this information, and then you can read it for yourself.
Okay, great.
And...
Now, Mark, I'm on the tour, so I have a question for you. Okay, excuse me, yes. Mr. Tour Director. Let me ask you a question. Who is Mark Taylor?
He's a young man, the first one shot at Columbine.
Oh, first one.
He,
okay.
He wrote a book, and the name of the book was "I Asked, God Answered," and he was working for Dr. Ann Tracy. Had spoken in front of the FDA about the dangers of the drugs. He would tell them, "Where were you when I got shot at Columbine? I'm the one that took the bullets, and you're the ones that put this dangerous substance out in the public. And then I'm the one that gets shot by a guy that's on the stuff, basically."
Okay, Mark, Ron, how do we know that Mark was the first guy to get shot?
Because he was outside the school, and that's the just what everybody knows happened. People that follow the itinerary or whatever.
So there were witnesses.
Yeah, he was out. He was out there amongst kids out on the lawn, and then immediately, though, he witnessed some shooters on the roof. There's another lie by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, because they were saying that was an air conditioning man, And then we found the helicopter footage of shooters on the roof, and obviously it's a SWAT team. So we're just saying that they were wanting to silence him from the beginning from what he was witnessing.
Okay, now, so there's witnesses that know that he was the first one who was shot. Now, was there any kind of conversation back and forth between him and Dylan and Klebold before he was shot?
No, as a matter of fact, Mark didn't know anyone at that school. He'd only been going there for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And had just made a few friends, so he had no knowledge of these boys at all.
Okay, now you say he wrote a book, I Asked, God Answered. Now, did he self-publish that book, or did he have a publisher?
No, I actually took them down to Oklahoma and had it published. Can't remember the publisher now, but during these journeys, can I tell you that we've contacted a lot of people, and we bring up the pedophilia.
No. We're going to get to all that. We're going to get to all that. I promise you. We can spend 3 hours. We'll get to all that. I promise you. But let's just focus on Mark Taylor right now for now. Okay. Now you say he wrote this book, and you helped him get the book published. Is the book still available?
Yes, as far as I know.
Okay. Now
the book actually wasn't written by Mark. It was done by Donna's cousin, who basically wrote it and then had Mark. Mark will tell you this. He's very honest. But, yeah, he even admits that he didn't write the book, but it was about his story when he was recovering, basically.
Okay, so he was shot, but he wasn't so badly wounded that he survived the shooting. Now, in the book, he described seeing two shooters up on the roof?
Yes, yeah. They were calling him the Miracle Boy. He was being passed around. He was in the movie Bowling for Columbine by Michael Moore.
Okay.
Being used by Michael Moore. Okay.
Okay, so now how much time passed from when he was shot till he wrote the book? Was it years or just months?
Well, I'll say again, he didn't write the book. The publisher accepted the book as is because I guess he endorsed it.
Okay, how much time passed from the time he was shot to the time the book was published?
I'm very hard on the time periods, maybe a couple of years.
Couple of years. Okay, good. Now, so he was about 19 then by that point. Now, you say he also testified before Congress? He had some kind of congressional testimony?
No, he spoke in front of the FDA.
FDA, about drugs. Okay.
Yeah. Type in Mark Taylor's Fight for Columbine, and that has a good profile of what he was doing during that period of time.
Okay, great.
There's a good documentary on that.
Now, how did he wind up being institutionalized in a mental institution?
Because he didn't get to appear in front of a court, they simply took him off the street, made claims that are, if you knew Mark, you would think, how in the heck would he ever do anything like that? He was a good, very honest person. But they claimed that he made a threat to blow up a bookstore. And then they just simply took him and put him in a mental institution.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like when we went down there to see him, hey, Mark, what are you doing here? Yeah, it was quite contrary to any kind of rights that you would have.
Okay.
And they put him on drugs.
So one day he's walking down the street. How old was he at that time?
Gosh, 1920, something like that.
19, 20 years old. He's walking down the street. And was he employed at that time?
Well, he was actually, I can't remember whether he was still on the tour with Dr. Tracy. This is Dr. Ann Tracy, who has a website, drugawareness.org. But he was getting opportunities to speak, and he was wanting to be a preacher, so he was just taking opportunities that were presented, and she was getting people coming into her lectures because she had a victim of Columbine that could talk about the dangers of the psychotropic drugs. And quite honestly, I think that was a part of it, but they simply don't include the fact that the shooters had a reason for being on these psychotropic drugs.
Gotcha. Now, back to Mark. He's about 19, 20 years old. He's working for this Dr. Tracy, kind of doing lectures and speeches and stuff like that. Did he have a girlfriend?
He's had them off and on. He was basically like a traveling man there for some time. They were going to different places throughout the country.
So a girl in every port then at this point.
I remember one time he had this little gal, and her parents didn't like the fact that he was gained a lot of attention at that point.
Okay, now where was he living? 19, 20 years old. Was he living on his own or living with his mother?
He was always with his mother because as soon as they got a hold of him, he required full attention. Now, Donna had a quite successful life. She was living in a nice 2-story house and had 4 other kids, raised them successfully, and had was even running like beauty pageants, but they're for the bridal industry, so there'd be bridal pageants at the Denver Merchandise Mart, and all of a sudden she's having to take care of Mark because they've drugged him up.
Okay,
so then she ends up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but before she had to start taking care of Mark, because originally Mark was working for Dr. Tracy, right, and he was doing okay. He was a happy guy, right? What was Donna doing for a living? You said she was doing beauty pageants. Anything else? Did she have a steady job?
Yeah, she was always busy doing something. I know she worked for an attorney in Missouri when she had to rush back. She was thinking Mark was going to be just as normal as the rest of them when she cut the apron strings, but she had to return back to Colorado Springs when they took him and put him in the institution, so she lost that job. And then was told by a Dr. Mary Z that Mark's life was in danger, and in a frightened state now. She's heading to New Mexico. Even though she's got a family here, she has to take Mark where she thinks he's safe.
Okay, hold on. Okay,
and then,
wait.
Okay.
Mark gets picked up walking down the street, you said, but they accused him of threatening to bomb a bookstore. Now, Mark denies. Yeah. He denies ever being in the bookstore. What does he deny? Was it just an argument in the bookstore? What was?
He had been going on to the bookstores just to see if his book was being displayed and sold. That they just connected the fact that he was going into bookstores to some kind of a plot that they created out of thin air.
So now, was there a hearing? Was there any kind of court hearing to have him?
No court hearing whatsoever. They simply just took him. And this is right after he had been used by Attorney General Ken Salazar in a case in which he wasn't liking what they had done to him in that case.
Well, describe that case.
So they silenced him.
Okay.
Well, I could go back. It becomes more complicated, so I don't want to confuse the audience. But it goes back to where they were trying to keep these Columbine files from being put out to where the Columbine families could learn what was in these files. And they actually used Mark's name in a courtroom, which was quite obviously opposite of what he was trying to do. They were making the court think that he wanted a Dr. Elliott to review these files and write a report on them, and that's obviously not what they wanted. And in this case, when Mark was making objections to that, that's when they silenced him.
Okay.
So it goes all the way back to Gary Kleinman and Donald Estep. You can simply type into your computer those two names, Donald Estep, Gary Kleinman, C-L-Y-M-A-N. And this goes all the way back to Mark's learning about these people, in which case the Gary Kleinman ended up at Mark's bedside instead of his, what they were assigning would be advocates. I guess they called them victim advocates. But no, suddenly Mark's victim advocate disappears, and here's Gary Kleinman. So we follow Gary Kleinman to the Columbine investigation, and they're not even asking the right questions. Yeah, everybody's wondering why these boys did it. You can go to the Columbine files, and they don't ask their friends and associates why they think their friends did it.
Okay, let's hold on.
So I'm just telling you, we got a bad FBI here. You know what I'm saying? They just don't really want to work well.
Okay, but the thing is,
they can't.
When Mark is about 20 years old, okay, he winds up in a mental institution. What's the name of that institution?
I don't remember what it was. It was the one in Colorado Springs. That's where Donna was so supportive because obviously she knows all of that stuff.
Okay.
And I was simply trying to help them. You know?
Okay. Now, is he still in that same institution in Colorado Springs right now?
No, that was the first time. So then Donna gets him out.
Okay.
And they're in New Mexico, and they're trying to get to a safe house in California, and Mark's not feeling well, so she just pulls off for an emergency evaluation to see if Mark's okay. And lo and behold, they grab him there.
Okay.
It took this attorney $20,000 to fight them to get Mark released out of Arizona. So finally, they get him out of Arizona, and he comes back to Colorado. In which case, that's where I was trying to provide a safe house for him, and they took him away here.
Okay. Let's back up.
I don't know how many times they think they can steal this young man, but he hasn't done anything wrong, and they have.
Okay, let's back up a little bit. When he's 20, he gets arrested.
Yes,
he gets committed the first time, but his mother got him out. Now, what was the diagnosis? What diagnosis did they give him when he was in there?
You know, with all the psychobabble that's going on, actually a good friend of ours sat down with the psychiatrist, and right in front of Mark, basically, the guy said that Mark was crazy. Now, we see it just the other way around. Yeah, we think they're crazy for thinking that they can abduct this young man and ruin his life, and quite honestly, that's what they've done, because he has no mental stimulation and no physical stimulation, and he sits around all day long with a bunch of old men mumbling. And I don't think that's right that they did this to this young man.
Okay. But we don't know what the diagnosis was that they justified to put him in there.
There was no real diagnosis. We went and visited him, Doug Millar and I did.
Okay.
And said, Mark, what are you doing in here? And he didn't belong in there.
Right.
Now he does, because they've drugged him. Now, we think that simply by getting him off the drugs in a very slow and determined program, that, yes, we can get him off the drugs, but at least we would like to have the opportunity to try, because that's what he says he wants.
Okay. Now, the first time when he was 20 and he got out of there, they put him on prescriptions, and that was part of his condition of his release?
They just simply have him on a drug leash. There's no condition other than the fact that if you take him off, then he has seizures.
Gotcha. So,
and you can't. Yeah, that's what happened when we had to call him here. The EMTs took him away. Then he ends up under the jurisdiction of Denver, even though this wasn't even the same county.
Okay.
You know, everybody wants to claim him or something, and then they take him.
What is the prescription
so we don't think they have a right to take him any longer. We want to simply get out of here, go to Bolivia with him, where we have some people that would care for his needs in the manner that he wants to be cared for.
What is the prescription that they have him on? What is the drug?
Halidol is the last one I heard. They've got him on it's almost, when he used to come stay with me, he'd have a packet of all kinds of garbage every time.
Right.
And I took pictures of it at one time to try to identify what they were. But quite obviously, if we don't have any drugs to get him out of here and transport him, then he's stuck there. And I'm going to Bolivia regardless. But I don't want to have to go to Bolivia without him. I think we have the proper things in place because we have people on the other end that'll provide for him. So this is his opportunity to be free. And we just don't understand how they think they can abuse these people. And Mark's one case, now we have Donna, because she fled the safe house that I had here for her. She was staying here when she was trying to get Mark out. And then she ends up having to leave because we had a frozen sewer. And she's trying to get to Dr. Ann Tracy's house, and we find her. We don't know what happened, but we found her out in the middle of the desert, incoherent.
This is
and
Donna.
So she's silenced.
You found Donna out in the middle of the desert, silenced, right? Incoherent.
Well, yeah, she was heading to Vegas.
Okay.
That's where Dr. Tracy is.
Okay, Dr. Tracy lives in Vegas. What's Dr. Tracy's first name?
Dr. Ann Tracy.
Dr. Ann Tracy. And she's based here in Vegas?
She was the last time I learn where she was. I assume she's still there.
Okay, now she's
She was in Utah at one point.
right, but now she's a professional, right? Wasn't she able to give some kind of a diagnosis to counter when they're institutionalizing? Did she try to intervene on his behalf because she knew him?
Yeah, truly, when we were at Bundy Ranch, I was hoping to maybe put a call out for some doctor that would come in and provide his medication when he was in the Bundy Ranch, because I don't think they would have messed with him there. Yeah, we thought that was quite a neat place to go to, where suddenly we don't have any federal employees bothering us.
All right. Okay, let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back after this. We're with Ron Aigner. We're discussing this case with Mark Taylor, who was the first guy shot at Columbine when he was in high school. He went on to write a book, I Asked, God Answered, and then wound up in a mental institution. And it seems like he's been in there for quite a long time. So we're trying to get to the bottom of all this and figure out what's going on. We'll be right back after these messages with more of Ron Aigner. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company located in India. So you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service to boot. They offer all kinds of services, business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshore research networking, customer care, press release content writing and distribution, and much, much more. They offer website development, e-commerce solutions, mobile responsive designs. Now, I've personally worked with Subhash for over 10 years. This is the man that puts out my press releases. They've done work on my websites, so I can personally recommend SubhashTechnosis.com. You can find a link to Subash Technosis at OppermanReport.com and also AwakeRadio.us. Welcome to our new sponsor. Okay, welcome back. We're back with the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman, and we're here with Ron Aigner, who's telling us all about this Mark Taylor, who was the first kid shot at Columbine. So, Ron, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, if I wanted to call Mark Taylor, he's in a mental institution right this minute?
Yeah. And can I tell you that we took him on a trip through Vegas when we went to Long Beach. And when we had him in the casinos and partying and all, nobody anywhere would believe that he needs to be in a mental institution. You know, he's not a danger to anybody. He's like a lamb kind of guy. And quite honestly, he conducts himself in a normal manner. I just don't understand why they think they need to keep him locked up.
Okay, well,
he's really not even locked up. I mean, he's free to walk around the place, go down to the store or whatever. So he is in the public. I don't know why they think he needs to come back there.
Okay, so if I wanted to call him, I could call him up and record some time with him?
Sure.
Okay, we should try and arrange that. Now,
the only one that can't contact him is me, because they came against me as his best friend and put a restraining order against me.
And what was the basis for the restraining order? What was their allegation?
Well, they claimed that I had something to do with taking Mark Taylor to the Bundy Ranch. No, it was Ken, what they call him, GMN Kim from the Pete Santilli show that came by, and he picked him up. I didn't think he could even get the medication. But for some reason, he got medication to take Mark all the way to the Bundy Ranch and back, and then threw him under the bus.
How did he throw him under the bus?
And blame me for the whole thing. I didn't have a thing to do with arranging that trip. And Ken even bought him a T-shirt signifying that he was there. You know, it's like, yeah, I guess when he's wearing that around the home, they're saying, "Where'd you get that T-shirt, Mark?" You know. anyway, it seemed to be a setup or something, and it resulted in me not being able to talk to Mark.
So you're saying someone from the Pete Santilli show was able to get medication for him? Was this through the hospital or was it through his own?
Yeah, when he mentioned that he was going to get Mark out, I just kind of rolled my eyes thinking, yeah, fat chance you're not going to get medication for him, but then he did. I'm thinking, how did that happen? Quite suspicious.
And then you're saying they threw him under the bus. How did they throw him under the bus?
Well, they actually had some websites up showing pictures of, I've got some snapshots showing Mark with Clive Bundy, and they were going to make a big to-do about it, and then all of a sudden they're taking everything down. I'm quite suspicious of Pete Santilli.
You think so? You think so, huh? Okay.
Well, yeah. I was both on the Pete Santilli show and Vinny Eastwood.
Right.
I was right in the middle of all that.
Yeah, Vinny's a friend of mine.
Him. He's Rex 84. If that helps, you know what I'm saying.
Okay. Now, what do you think it was? What other things besides seeing these shooters on the roof? What else was in the book that you think that they would want to go after Mark?
Well, he actually made another statement that the police officer that saved him came in and told him that he was under orders not to save him. I've even had attorneys involved saying, yeah, they were trying for a big body count. So it's unusual to...
Hold on. A police officer came in, saw Mark shot, and said, I've been ordered not to save you.
Well, the guy that did save him. We've actually talked to him since the tragedy, and he knows all the stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you. And you would think that this is the young man that he saved. He would probably be interested, but no, we've had conversation with him.
And so when he have this conversation, does he confirm that he said that day, or is he now he denies it?
You know, that wasn't what the conversation was about. It was more, gee, finally got to meet you, and thank you so much for what you did in Mark's life, saving you.
Okay.
He actually is the mayor of the town I lived in over in the small town of Paonia, Colorado. That's where we met him.
Okay.
And quite interesting how these people want to just fade into the background when, in fact, we were trying to make him into a hero, you know?
Okay, now what else could have been in the book that could be the impetus for this being put in a mental institution?
Quite honestly, it was because he was focusing on Big Pharma.
Okay.
So he had no friends there. He didn't understand how powerful they are. He's just a young man. And then he was also focusing on the corruption that the government had. Yeah, when they're covering up the pedophilia, that gets quite concerning.
Okay.
And quite honestly...
Then let's get into that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what happened is that Harris and Klebold, they did a burglary of a van. This is a couple of... before the shooting at Columbine. They'd done some burglary of a van, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, that's one of the incidences. We learned there were over 15 contacts with sheriff's deputies.
Oh, really? Okay, the only one
we found that out because there was a journal by Harris's father. It didn't appear in any of the sheriff's files that these contacts existed. They were trying to separate themselves from having any contact with these boys.
Okay, so now you have a copy of that journal?
Well, it's just, I'd have to just go back to the files. Might even type in as search words, Harris Father's Journal. I don't know.
And it's available?
It's that easy.
It's available online?
I'm sure, yeah. I can send, you quite a bit of emails before we have our next conversation so that you can put them on your website or whatever way that you distribute information.
Okay.
But I simply... I'll give everybody a heads up that all of the information, I don't have a lot of computer skills, so all the information that I can send you is still up, or I wouldn't have that link. So you can reverse engineer, knowing what the boys said, this is what they said, and then you can reverse engineer back to the opportunity that they had to serve the search warrant and understand then that they didn't want those boys in a courtroom to reveal the pedophilia.
Okay.
So they were already in a cover-up mode when it came to an Officer Walsh. And we have a lot of information from the boys. Now, understand this is what they said. Things like, excuse the word, but this is what it was.
No, wait.
You, Walsh.
No, you can't. You can't curse on here, okay? You cannot, no cursing.
All right, well.
No, one second.
I apologize.
Don't worry.
I have to talk about things that they said.
Right, okay, you can't, though, but let's slow down for a second. Okay, now.
All right.
No obscenities whatsoever, okay? It'll just ruin the whole show. Now, the thing is, I'm only aware of one incident. They were breaking into a van, the cops arrested them, and somehow they were molested. They were sexually molested during that incident. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, how were they sexually molested? Both of them? By how many cops?
We don't know that. All we have is the documentation that they left behind in the form of a picture, and then we have other information because we have the depositions of the shooter's parents, which they think that they have destroyed, but no, we got the decamp files, which backs up our information, so it's information no one else has. And then we also can go forward and have John DeCamp, who, in his own statements, remember, he was under gag order, and they had, I don't know whether anybody remembered, but they...
Wait, let's stop for a second. Let's get back to, again, now you said the boys have a picture. What is the picture of?
The picture is in a police file.
Okay.
Here again, I don't know what my rules are as far as, when you're talking about this horrible subject. I'm as embarrassed to having to say these things as anyone. But when it's becoming a file, then you have to repeat what the file's name is. So here again, I did not name this file.
Then don't name the file.
El Paso County Sheriff's Department did.
Then don't name the file.
You ready for the...
No, don't name the file. What is it a picture of? Do you know what it's a picture of?
It's a picture that's identified as a cop anally molesting a boy.
Okay, and this is in the police file. The police have a picture of this.
Yes.
Have you seen this picture?
A picture that Eric Harris drew when he was under arrest for the January incident.
So it's a drawing. It's a drawing that...
A drawing, yes.
Okay, and that's in police evidence locker.
It was on page 10,589 of the Columbine report.
Okay. Now, you're saying, okay, so there's a picture, and then you said there was something else that alludes to this police raping these boys. There was a picture and something else. What was the other thing?
Well, there could be what could be thought of as a cryptic caption, and that was Dylan's statement where he says, then an officer approached us, got all that we had, and went through the process. So that's just a small piece that we had in the beginning of this investigation. And quite honestly, more of the investigation is now in the fact that we have been abused horribly because of the information that we've, it's because of our knowledge and our ability to analyze what we're seeing here.
Okay.
And ask the right questions. We can't get the FBI to respond in a responsible manner.
Okay, now, you said that in addition to that one incident that I was aware of, that there were, how many other contacts with the Sheriff's Department? You said 9 or 10, something like that?
15.
15, okay. And then what were those 15 incidents? Those also involved sexual abuse? What was that?
Well, I'm not saying I can identify everyone that caused sexual abuse. But in this case, even when Walsh was asked had he had any other contacts with those boys, he indicated he hadn't, when in fact those 15 contacts proved that he did. So I'm just pointing out the areas where we have learned that they're being deceptive.
Okay.
Even had a...
And those 15 contacts, were those actual arrests? Or these were just 15, incidents, police show up, take a report, phone calls, 911?
Well, I would suggest instead of getting hung up on those, I can send you the documents that Ken Salazar gave them a free pass on that, thinking, oh, they dismissed it. It was just a Keystone Cops kind of a thing. No, they had a motive to cover up because already they had missed their chance to protect the school by arresting the police officer that committed the crimes against Harris and Klebold, and instead they did the wrong thing there. So already they're being subjected to some pretty serious crimes.
Now you were saying
I would suggest that it would be conspiracy to murder, at least.
Okay. You were saying before that the Columbine shootings, the high school shootings, there could have been prevented because the police could have issued a search warrant against Dylan and Klebold's homes for making bombs. Now, how do you come up with that?
They had prepared a search warrant, and then they didn't serve it. Had they served it, then the lead investigator, Kate Batan, would have taken this into a courtroom and prosecuted Harris for the materials they would have found. They didn't do that. And the reason they didn't do that is they decided at that point that they would try to cover up what Harris or what Walsh had done to them instead of doing the right thing and prosecuting Walsh and getting protection for the two boys that were being molested. And we didn't understand how far this went until we actually heard it from John D. Camp that it happened multiple times. We were simply concentrating on what we acknowledged from the January incident, in which case we have a written motive. And you would think that maybe the FBI would like to know what the written motive is if they can't figure it out. And it was in a yearbook entry, and it said something like this: killing cops, blowing up things. It'll be the holy April morning of natural-born killers. Here's the takeaway. My wrath for January's incident will be godlike, not to mention our revenge in the Commons. So here again, I'm just explaining to you what they said. And they said that the revenge in the Commons, which we can suggest could have been the bomb that they put in the lunchroom, had everything to do with the January incident, in which case they were wanting revenge. And it's the January incident where we find this picture.
Well, how do you make
let
that?
You know what happened.
How do you make that connection?
Professor?
How do you make that connection, though, that that statement in the yearbook connects to the January incident?
Well, Dylan, if you look at the picture of them lying in a pool of blood, has a shirt that has big red letters "Wrath" across it.
Right.
So that's an indication that they're underlying that statement. And we have much more. I mean, you have to just put all the pieces together to understand that we know what we're talking about. But quite honestly, it's even almost more about how many times we've had to go to our authorities. And obviously, it hasn't worked for us. So we, the mainstream media, where are you?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Over here.
Let me ask you a question. Now, when you do go to the authorities, how do you present your case? Like, do you have like a one sheet that says, "Hey, this is what this is the outline of our theory here of what's going on," and present like a nice short little one sheet to people that they can look at? Or how do you present this?
It's been many different kinds of times. I think the most amusing story is when we had simply gotten Mark out of the group home, and we went to a little pizza restaurant, and I go up and order the pizza, and Mark and Donna sit down. And by the time I'm done ordering the pizza, I see this guy sitting across from us, and I sit down. And Donna says, "That's Senator Mike Bennett." So I get up and I go over and introduce myself, and I ask if he would like to join us, that we have a couple victims of the Columbine tragedy sitting over here. And he liked the idea that he could talk to us. So when Donna starts talking about having her son taken away and put in a mental institution and how we know all of this stuff, all he does is he says, "Oh, and I was the superintendent at Denver Public Schools. Oh, my gosh." He walked out of there as if he'd seen a ghost. And we were hoping maybe we could go to his office and talk further. But no, he ran out of there. And quite honestly, didn't even go back and get his pizza that he'd ordered. I'm telling you, that's just one incident over many. a lot of politicians out there that would just as soon run from us than face the truth.
Okay, because I asked you if you have a one sheet, because when you tried to present your information to me, you know, like you contacted me first on YouTube and then a couple of emails, like you send a lot of links and a lot of stuff, but it's very confusing as to what the point you're trying to make. And it would probably benefit you, right? You create that one sheet.
Well, if I can make a point,
go ahead.
It's that none of this would have happened if Bill Clinton had done what we asked him to do and did an investigation, because when we went to Bill Clinton, we knew that those boys were raped. And now we discover that he's a pedophile. How much more do you people need to lock these Clintons up? We actually followed a trail.
You there? Okay, I think we lost him. Ah, brother. Okay. Let me see if we're still... No, I still got... You're still on. Ron, can you hear me? Oh, well, this is frozen. Oh, no, we're good there. Hey, Ron, can you hear me at all? I'm going to try calling. I hang up and call him back. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. I had another guest book today, too, who was a longtime friend of David Berkowitz. And, but I could not... Hey, Ron. You there, Ron?
I hear you, but you couldn't hear me, apparently. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you good now. Here you go. Might have to bump you up just a little bit.
I'll get...
There you go. Okay.
How's that?
Oh, no, now you're not too loud. Okay, good. All right, we got you back. Now, you were saying that, how'd you get a hold of Bill Clinton?
I was asked by the families, both the families of the dead and injured, known a lot of them, to go to a meeting with Clinton when we discovered that we had this information. So in doing that, I brought it to the top. You know, I don't know what to tell you, but that's what you do when you're not getting any cooperation from anyone else. So, yeah, I provided an opportunity for Bill Clinton to do the right thing, and instead he betrayed the Columbine families. Yeah, it's no secret. That's what I'm hoping the Republican Party understands now, is the truth is out. It's all over the internet. I don't do YouTubes, but obviously a lot of people have gained a lot of information from the participation we have made, because we're the victims of Columbine, to try to get the truth out.
Now,
and we've been successful. We've got, Mark's webmaster at one time was saying, 5 million hits or whatever on various YouTubes. And we have a lot of copycat people that have learned this, and they're putting out YouTubes, and I can take you around to all the people that know. But in this case, we have a Republican Party that's now thinking that they don't want to use this information against Bill Clinton. Okay. I've actually got this guy, Ted Harvey.
Wait, Ron, let's slow down. Let's slow down. Okay, go all over the place. Webmasters.
I'm politically there. I'm all over the map, I know.
I asked you a question about Clinton. Next thing I'm hearing about webmasters. Okay, listen, my friend. Back to, because I got questions about the webmasters too and stuff, but back to Bill Clinton. How was it you got into the same room with Bill Clinton, and where was that room? Where was that location? How did you get in the same room with him? Yeah.
Okay, it's at the Adams Mark Hotel.
Okay.
There was actually to let you know, this wasn't quite the venue that I expected. It was a gala for the Columbine victims to attend so that they could raise money for the memorial.
Right.
$250 plate dinner. And the Columbine families were invited, and also had a reception in a private room, in which case only the families were invited, and I was Uncle Ron. And my only reason for being there was to do this at the request of the Columbine families and tell President Clinton that we had this most serious problem with having knowledge that this was about two boys who were provoked during the January incident.
No, let me stop you right there.
So,
how long, how much time did you spend there talking to Bill Clinton?
It didn't take very long. I didn't extend it because his answer to me was he was concerned too, especially the fact that this would have been a conflict of interest from the Jefferson County to be the ones to do the investigation, and he gave me his card. He had an aide of his give me his card, and then he ends up saying, get in touch with me. So quite obviously, I was thinking, I can send him a real big document file, and I couldn't get through to him when I tried to call his office. And instead, I finally had to give up on that, and I faxed him everything I would have told him. So he did get a big file from me because I faxed it. So he's quite obviously one that has the knowledge that I'm trying to share with your readership, or you're listening to.
Now, obviously, by the way, too, obviously this was a serious conflict of interest, not just by the local sheriff's department, but also to the FBI, because the local FBI agent in charge, too, his son was part of that Trenchcoat Mafia group, and he was part of that audio-visual club, too. He was in the videos. And also, too, some children of local sheriffs showed up, later on that day and wearing camouflage. There's a lot of stuff went on in this case. There's a lot of stuff was definitely covered up by these cops. There's no doubt about that. But back to Bill Clinton. Now, just for a second, pretend I'm Bill Clinton, okay? And explain to me the way you explained to Bill Clinton what your theory of this case is.
Well, it's kind of hard to go back there. I actually, before I presented it to him, I knew I wasn't going to have much time, so I was clear and to the point. And I said that we had a written motive that appears that these boys were angry about the January incident, and now we've discovered why they were angry, because of a picture that Harris drew that indicates he was a victim of pedophilia. And quite honestly, that's what I'm just sharing with you right now. How hard is that to understand?
That's good. Okay. That's good. Now you did it, man. Okay. Now, but so then Bill Clinton never got back to you. Now, a couple of questions for you. Oh, you know what? This might be a good time to take a commercial break. Okay, this one's a little bit longer. It's a 4-minute break, and so you got time to get up and get a drink and stuff like that. So now, if you don't make it back in time, don't worry. I'll fill in the time till you come back online. You won't be able to hear the commercial. It'll just be silent on your end. I'll have you on mute, but it'll be exactly 4 minutes and 58 seconds. Now, we'll be back with more of Ron Aigner, and he's friends with Donna and Mark Taylor, and their website is ColumbineFamilyRequest.org. Okay, we'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 30% of all people on online dating websites and personal ads are either married or in a monogamous relationship? 30%. If you suspect that your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend may be cheating online, go to emailrevealer.com, on our online infidelity investigation. You give us their email address, and we could trace it back to online personal ads, dating sites, and social networks. We can even expand the investigation and find them cheating on escort service sites or even porn sites if they're registered to porn sites and swinger sites. So check out emailrevealer.com if you suspect your spouse is cheating, and check out our online infidelity investigation. William Ramsey is a producer here at the Opperman Report, and he's just come out with a new book, Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. Now, he just sent me a copy of this book. Oh boy, it's about 2 inches thick, and there's a chapter on just about everybody in this book that you can imagine. The Beatles and Jack Parsons. Everybody's in here. It's incredible. And I definitely recommend this book. There's a bunch of pictures in here, too, of all these people and different chapters and information. Anselm LaVey and people I've never heard of, too. There's a whole bunch in here. JFC Fuller. I don't know who he is. But it's great stuff by our producer here, William Ramsey. So check out Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you could find it in the OppermanReport.com bookstore. we have an urgent bulletin. It seems that the group Strawman is still on the loose. It has been confirmed that Strawman are Canadian, okay, and that authorities are asking people to stay indoors, lock your doors and windows until this group can be dealt with. You could find more information about this group of Canadians, at strawmanmusic.com. You can have your ad played here. Okay, we're looking for sponsors. Okay, in fact, we desperately need sponsors right now to take this show to the next level. So you can have your your ad played here, read live, like I'm doing now, so artfully. Or we can even work up a little jingle for you with some music and stuff like that and play it here. You have no idea how inexpensive it would be to have your ad played on the Opperman Report on 7 stations live Friday night and another 7 stations live on Saturday night, plus replayed every day of the week on different stations, and then archived on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all different kinds of podcasts, Pod This and Podbean, all different kinds of places who archive the show for us. And on those archives, your ad would play indefinitely, forever. You also get a little banner on OppermanReport.com. You get a mention on the air, you get a little interview on the air, and all kinds of fun stuff if you sponsor Opperman Report. We have an opportunity to get this show on a major AM/FM station in California. We've been approved. So if you want to sponsor us into that, so incredibly inexpensive that your ad would be heard by the range covers 5 million people in population where your ad would be broadcast, and all these other stations would be thrown in for free. So really affordable prices to sponsor OppermanReport.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get a copy of that book at emailrevealer.com, or you can get a copy of that book now. It's back up on Amazon.com. How to Become a Successful Private Investigator by Ed Opperman. And this book has been updated a little bit from the previous book that we had that was available to our wonderful listeners. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. And don't forget our new sponsor, Subhash Technosis. Go to Facebook, Subhash Technosis there, and give them a like to let them know that we're aware of their company there. If you need any kind of press release or search engine optimization, website design, outsourcing, customer service outsourcing, these guys will do it all for you. They got 250 people working for them over there in India. We're with Ron Aigner. We're talking about the Columbine case. This kid, Mark Taylor, who was the first kid to be shot at Columbine. And then he went on to report that he saw shooters on the roof. He went on to report that one of the police officers told him that he was ordered not to rescue him. Kid wound up in institutionalized and pretty much put through hell for the last 20-some years. I think it was in 1993, something like that. Wasn't it around 1993 this happened? Ron? Ron's choking to death over here. Ron, can you hear me? Oh. Okay, hey, Ron, we're back. I was on mute there for a second. Hey, Ron, what year was this, 1993?
When was this?
The Columbine shooting was in 1993?
99.
1999, okay. Yeah, so this poor kid, this has been a long time. It's been about 17 years of going through hell. Now, give me an idea, some of the people you've contacted, besides Bill Clinton, trying to get this story out.
Oh, I could just spend hours just talking about that. I just got done with the Michael Bennett. A lot of the people that could have stood up in the beginning, like Tancredo, ever since then. He was a person that should have stood up back then when we were trying to get the truth out. And, in fact, all of these people, somehow... At this point, what have they done? Sold their soul to the devil? I don't understand this.
How'd you get in touch with the camp?
What's that?
How did you get in contact with the camp?
DeCamp was in the story long before I was, so he ended up simply representing Mark during the Solvay Pharmaceutical trial. And in doing that, he had the opportunity to go into the files that have been secret, these basement tapes. Now, the basement tapes themselves were on the front page of Time magazine, so it's nobody's secret that they existed, and they've tried to keep these files secret ever since. I can send you the articles that they've destroyed these files. They didn't get them all. That's what I'm trying to share with you. We have the depositions of the killer's parents, the Harris parents. We got them from John DeCamp. They didn't get his files when they ransacked his office for them. So we have these files, and we presently are trying to give these files to Julia Hayden, who is a investigative reporter for Fox News, who we already have on our website, looking at that picture. Everyone on that talk show is talking about that picture, and they all agree that it looks like a child being molested by a cop. So I've actually offered her the 16,000 pages in my last emails to her. I had a conversation with her, and she has yet to contact me back to accept my gift of these documents. So they don't want to know.
Well, let me ask you a question. Now, what would you do? You actually send the originals, or you want to send copies?
You know, I can send actually just by linking to this email exchange I've started off with Julia Hayden. You can see right there that as we speak, we have mainstream media who refuse to accept our information.
Right, but
that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right, but let's say she was to accept your information. Would you make copies of this and ship it to her, or would you send her the originals?
Oh, they wouldn't have to send a courier up. I would actually bring them down to them. And obviously we have put these out all over the place.
Right.
We even had a conversation about them, in which case I said I haven't released them publicly because they have some areas in them that would probably violate the HIPAA law. So, I don't know the requirements there to separate the documents out from the ones that may be related to someone's privacy.
Well, now one more time.
I'm just stating that's
right.
Where I've been with this woman, and quite honestly, she agrees that picture looks like, this is quoting her, she says, oh, well, that gets the weight off of the kids at Columbine and puts it squarely on the shoulders of law enforcement. Now, it's quoting her.
Right. But now, Ron, the question...
Yeah, that's where they need to be.
The question I'm asking you is...
Yes, sir.
If you were to ship these documents, would you send the originals or would you send copies?
No, we made a lot of copies, and we've distributed them to where they'll never get all the copies, obviously.
Because to make copies...
It took a lot of work to go to DeCamp's office and pick them up and then take them back and run them through a printer or a scanner and then bring them back to John DeCamp's office. So, yeah, we put a lot of effort into saving those. Right,
because I've been involved in big cases, and I know to make copies, 16,000 copies, it costs a lot of money. Okay, it's going to cost thousands of dollars. Okay?
They tried to keep the first 11,000 pages by introducing them in boxes without indexes or anything. And it was me and a Columbine parent, Steve Schweizberger, who took those down and ran them at a Kinko's and had to pay for the $600 and some, I guess, for the files and another, I guess it was $1,100 to have them copied. It was a penny a copy.
Right.
I'm just saying, we've had to stay right on them, and we have the truth. Actually did our investigation in the way they were saying at the time was what the computer was meant for. And we were doing it on a CRTF website.
Okay.
Columbine Research Task Force.
Okay. If you want to send them to me, okay, I've testified before Congress. I'm kind of a well-known guy. Okay. You can send them to me if you want, okay? And I'd like to take a look at all this stuff. If you have the funds to send me these documents, I would love to sit through here and go through the whole thing. And perhaps put together a one-sheet for you that you can spread around and get through to some people.
Well, yeah. You know what I'm saying, for somebody that's in your background, we've done most of the work for you. All we need you to do is just review what we've done.
You really
and quite
need
honestly, it's going to set you on your ear when you discover some of the rabbit holes we've been in.
Yeah, you need a couple of summary reports of all this.
Start off with Columbine, then we end up with child traffickers who murdered people. You know what I'm saying? I've got a lot of these right in our own neighborhood. We have a serious problem with the children reaching out to us. We have them setting fire to themselves, jumping out of cars, you know, the things that you don't want to have, which makes you think maybe we need to do something in the area of protecting children.
Okay. But back to this 1 second. Now, when you sent me the email, you mentioned a couple of names in the email, right? One was David Schurter. How does he fit into this?
I was invited to go on a lecture tour at the same time we were meeting with John DeCamp at his office, and was invited actually into David's home. I sat through an interview. Doug Millar had interviewed he and his sister, and just being, you know, looking into their eyes and trying to, you know, could this be some kind of a scam? You know, you're hearing these things that are so outrageous. No, he took us to a park, in which case they were doing their sacrifices. It was quite chilling to have that type of people that we exist around exposed. And
David Schurter has been on the show. He's the author of Rabbit Hole, Satanic Ritual Abuse Survivor Story. Now,
right. I have his book. He actually gave me a copy, signed it.
Okay, great. Now, so that was your contact with David Schurter, that you met him, but basically that was so that Doug Millar, that was the first time Doug Millar met David?
I don't know how they got to know each other.
Okay. Now,
it's all surrounding the Franklin cover-up and the Omaha.
Right.
Even goes into the child trafficking of the Marine Gosh story. I've talked to her. Actually, he says some things about Maureen, I think, that don't work well with the rest of the people that know this stuff. So I don't know what that's about. But
okay.
But honestly, you know, we're dealing with the same issue of sexually abused children, and obviously it goes right back to the White House again.
Okay.
Because here we are dealing with the same issue that the Franklin cover-up was dealing with. And when it comes to Bill Clinton, don't you think we're tired of the children being used in their political games and the way they control each other?
Okay, now you also sent me the name Conchita Sarnoff, who's the author of the book Trafficking. Now, how does she fit into all this story?
I simply learned about her on your website, so I was quite fascinated to hear what she had to say about the same subject, and I was hoping maybe we could talk. Haven't gotten a conversation with others that can see it in such a clear manner that we have a real big problem about pedophiles in high places. Now here we are, just, you know, we came into this simply wondering how many crosses that we were going to put
right
and now what have we done? We've been down too many rabbit holes to forget what we've learned.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, when you sent me the email, it sort of looked to me like you were saying, hey, David Schurter and Conchita Sarnoff are references that you can contact about my story. Now, you're saying, though, that it was prior to that you had seen the name Conchita Sarnoff on my website, and that's why you mentioned her?
I surely did. I don't know how that got misinterpreted. I'd have to look and see how that happened. But no, I just simply was thinking that she and I could probably see eye to eye on a lot of these issues because she was quite knowledgeable about this type of conduct. And that's really, I go into that area when we talk about Judy Chase. So just in case somebody wants to write this down, just write in Judy Chase's Amber Alert. You could even type in, if you go to our Columbine website, she has a link to her case, in which case it gets even worse because she actually had a husband murdered satanically when he was able to uncover a child trafficking ring. And quite honestly, that indicates that we had an issue with inside people in Jefferson County government that was involved in child trafficking.
Okay,
Ted Gunderson was in the case.
But there's nothing involving Dylan Klebold and Mark with Satanism, correct? Is there?
The only connection we see between there's 3 cases that suddenly we're starting to see a calling card, in which case they left a fish carcass out in Donna's yard. So she was finding these fish carcasses, dead animals. They found animal carcasses in Judy Chase's yard, and they also found animal carcasses in the John Benny Ramsey's yard. So we had this satanic kind of a cult of some sort passing out calling cards.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned to me, too, that you had some people that were going to contact Trump in the Trump campaign, that were going to talk to Trump for you. What's behind that?
We're just hoping to get our information out to at least focus on Bill Clinton's conduct, in which case the fact that he's a pedophile now makes us understand where he was coming from when he didn't do the proper thing and he betrayed us. So in this case, a person's conduct in their single life, or not single life, but their sexual life, ends up being contrary to what your agenda is, when their agenda is to be a pedophile and to cover up pedophilia. And you've gone to this public official that you're thinking would be more responsible than that, when he sees it squarely that that's what provoked the Columbine shooters.
Oh, okay. But you thought you would find a haven there with Donald Trump, who's best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years, and they partied together, and one of Epstein's main victims worked for Trump, and Trump is in this lawsuit right now in New York State where he's accused of raping a 13-year-old. You thought that Trump would be a haven there for that information?
Well, in that case, we don't know anything about the 13-year-old yet. Sounds like it could be some kind of retaliation, because that's what they do. They actually, at one point, tried to accuse John DeCamp of pedophilia. I mean, that's how they do these kind of things. Let's just see where that comes out. Let's see what this 13-year-old might be, just another one of those people trying to gain fame or whatever.
Well, no, she's definitely not trying to gain fame. If anything, she's been hiding and has been threatened. Her life's been threatened. She's got a restraining order against Trump right now. And also, too...
I'll go by what Conchita, is that her name? Sarnoff says, and she said that she hasn't really uncovered anything that connects Trump to it, so I was thinking that was probably good.
I have.
Obviously.
You could Google it.
If, in fact, they prove that Donald Trump is involved again, well, guess what? We've been there before. Everybody we've gone to so far has been a friggin' pedophile.
Right. Well, I can tell you this. I do a lot of stuff with the tabloids, and I know for a fact from one of my attorneys I was involved in another big case with, that there's other women that are coming forward mentioning Trump and have pictures inside Trump's plane, have pictures inside Epstein's plane, and but they're going through the Inquirer and Radar Online, and it's getting caught there. It's being stopped there. It's being silenced at that point. So I'm convinced. Let's put it that way, okay?
You know what? I mean, let's just make the whole subject. Why is it that all these people that are these elitists think that that's some kind of privilege they have? I just don't understand how America can elect people into high position that don't have any moral compass.
I want to ask you about...
Isn't the last thing you want is somebody that can be compromised by their conduct?
Yeah, well, it seems that the blackmail's an ingredient here, too, as well. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, you mentioned before copycat websites, right? In all this controversy with Columbine, are you familiar with the name Justin Tribble?
Yeah, he was actually, I believe, the webmaster for the Columbine CRTF website at one point.
Okay. So what can you tell me about Justin Tribble?
Don't know a whole lot about him. He kind of stayed out of the mainstream, never really did much in the way of bringing out new information. much of that website were people that didn't live around here. We even had, long before they have trolls, we didn't know what trolls were. We had people that were involved in the middle of that website trying to disrupt everything. If you just do a little investigation, you'll see towards the end there, we're trying to focus on this picture and the fact that it's in a file. I hate to even share with you because I already got jumped on about the name of this file, but it is important. Can I spell it?
No, we can't. I apologize, but we can't. Listen, if you do, no one's going to hear. If you do, no one's going to hear the show. Okay, that's all I can tell you. No one will hear the show.
It's not that. It's not a word that would probably be thought of as a common word.
Let me ask you a question.
What it is.
Are you aware?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that there was trolls and stuff like that, and Justin Tribble. Are you aware of Justin Tribble's history now? That he's doing all these hoaxes and Dr. Bill Weld and Joel Osteen hoaxes and stuff that he does?
I haven't followed him at all. I would have to say I kind of questioned him back in the day. I don't know much about these people.
Right.
We just use that to facilitate our investigation. And can I tell you that all these people that have written the books like Columbine, he names the book Columbine, gets support from the National Geographic Society to do a documentary called Columbine, The Final Report. This guy's name is Dave Cullen, and he's an FBI publicist. He works for Salon, and as we speak, Salon is trying to promote pedophilia as a sexual orientation.
Right.
Already the American Psychiatric. And let me explain to you that I don't know much about psychiatry, but I know they're not going to change any angry father's mind when he grabs a pedophile and strangles him.
So let me ask you a question.
That ain't going to change anything, is it?
The fact that this man, Mr. Cohen, is at FBI, has an FBI connection, that disturbs you?
There's FBI connections all through this.
Oh, no, my question. No, wait. I'm asking. Ron, come on, please. I'm asking you a specific question. The fact that this guy Cohen has an FBI connection, does that disturb you? Yes or no?
I would love to sit down with the FBI, with them across the table, and talk to me as a responsible adult.
One more time. My question is, does that disturb you? Yes or no?
Oh, yeah. It disturbs me that the whole thing is being covered up because,
I have another question.
Their false narrative needs to be corrected.
We understand that. But I have another question for you. What if someone involved in this had a Mossad connection? Would that disturb
you? It would disturb me if we have anyone of any connection, whether they be in a secret society or whatever, that they wouldn't put their children first to protect them. And I would have to say a normal society would want to protect children that are being sexually abused. So I don't see any downside to it.
All right. We only got a couple of minutes left. What would you like to leave us with in this story?
To just release my friend Mark Taylor and get help for his mother. We're the Columbine victims that have been mistreated because we have knowledge. So I just hope to be able to share more of this knowledge. It has several different ways that it can manifest itself into learning about these people that seem to think that we're their slaves. And quite honestly, I'm tired of being their slave, so I'm simply going to leave. And I'd like to have Mark Taylor so we can get some help for him.
And you can't right now get permission to take him out of the country? Why not?
He's under control of the state. Yeah, he's not his own free person like he was born to be. They tried to make a ward of the state in Arizona. You know what that means? It means if you try to even find out where he is, he doesn't exist.
So they're saying that he's a danger to himself or a danger to others, and that's why he needs to be committed.
No, he's never been a danger to anyone. I don't think anybody's ever accused him of that.
Then what are the grounds that they're keeping him? Do you know what reason they give?
He's a whistleblower.
Right. That's what
the grounds that they just decided to take him and silence him. Same as they've done his mother, same as they're trying to do to me.
Okay, Ron, thank you so much. Okay, my friend, if anything new comes up, shoot me an email,
All right.
okay?
I'll send you another line of emails, okay?
Anything else that comes up, something new, send me an email. Thank you. Ron Aigner. Okay. All right. I don't earn my living around here, guys. The website is ColumbineFamilyRequest.org. And that's Ron Aigner. Got a lot of information, and I wish I can get out of them. We'll take a little commercial break here. Don't forget our new sponsor, Subash Technosis. That's SUBASH TECHNOSIS. And go to their Facebook page and shoot them a like for me, please. And need any kind of services from them, all kind of different stuff they do. Website design, search engine optimization, press releases, data entry, customer service. You can forward all your calls to them and have them. You think you can't afford that kind of stuff, but I'm telling you, Subash is the kind of guy you can work out a deal with him. Everybody who knows me knows I'm always negotiating. I'm always trying to cut a deal. I'm always trying to get the best deal I can possibly get. But good quality service. I don't get ripped off. Subash Technosis. Check these guys out. We'll be right back after this. And now a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 30% of all people on online dating websites and personal ads are either married or in a monogamous relationship? 30%. If you suspect that your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend may be cheating online, go to emailrevealer.com. On our online infidelity investigation. You give us their email address, and we can trace it back to online personal ads, dating sites, and social networks. We can even expand the investigation and find them cheating on escort service sites or even porn sites if they're registered to porn sites and swinger sites. So check out emailrevealer.com if you suspect your spouse is cheating, and check out our online infidelity investigation. William Ramsey is a producer here at the Opperman Report, and he's just come out with a new book, Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. Now, he just sent me a copy of this book. Oh, boy, it's about 2 inches thick, and there's a chapter on just about everybody in this book that you can imagine. The Beatles, and Jack Parsons, everybody's in here. It's incredible. And I definitely recommend this book. There's a bunch of pictures in here, too, of all these people and different chapters and information. Anton LaVey and people I've never heard of, too. There's a whole bunch in here. JFC Fuller. I don't know who he is. But it's great stuff by our producer here, William Ramsey. So check out Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you could find it in the OppermanReport.com bookstore. We have an urgent bulletin. It seems that the group Strawman is still on the loose. It has been confirmed that Strawman are Canadian, okay, and that authorities are asking people to stay indoors, lock your doors and windows until this group can be dealt with. You could find more information about this group of Canadians, at strawmanmusic.com. You can have your ad played here. Okay, we're looking for sponsors. Okay, in fact, we desperately need sponsors right now to take this show to the next level. So you can have your ad played here, read live, like I'm doing now, so artfully. Or we can even work up a little jingle for you with some music and stuff like that and play it here. You have no idea how inexpensive it would be to have your ad played on the Opperman Report on 7 stations live Friday night and another 7 stations live on Saturday night, plus replayed every day of the week on different stations, and then archived on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all different kinds of podcasts, Pod this and Podbean, all different kinds of places who archive the show for us. and on those archives, your ad would play indefinitely, forever. You also get a little banner on OppermanReport.com. You get a mention on the air, you get a little interview on the air, and all kinds of fun stuff if you sponsor Opperman Report. We have an opportunity to get this show on a major AM/FM station in California. We've been approved. So if you want to sponsor us into that, so incredibly inexpensive that your ad would be heard by the range covers 5 million people in population where your ad would be broadcast, and all these other stations would be thrown in for free. So really affordable prices to sponsor OppermanReport.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get a copy of that book at emailrevealer.com, or you can get a copy of that book now. It's back up on Amazon.com. How to Become a Successful Private Investigator by Ed Opperman. And this book has been updated a little bit from the previous book that we had that was available to our wonderful listeners. Okay, welcome back. We are joined by Mellisa Freya Score. Now, I first met Mellisa way back. I think in fact, I was talking to her the other day. She said the first time I saw her was at the debate when we had a big rally at the debate. But the first time I remember meeting her was when we had we're doing getting signatures for Jill Stein to get Jill Stein on the ballot here in Nevada. And I ran into, she's one of the first persons I ever asked for signatures, as a matter of fact. And I met her there. And then I started seeing all these different Bernie events and Black Lives Matter. And then the one I remember most, I didn't mention this last time we talked, but the one I remember the most was when we went to an event, we were going to chain ourselves to the FBI headquarters. we were going to have a sit-in at FBI headquarters, and Mellisa shows up. We were all wearing orange jumpsuits, okay? Victoria was there, she had an orange jumpsuit, and all the people had orange jumpsuits. And Mellisa, this poor kid, was also wearing a rubber Hillary mask over her head at 110 degrees. And I got to take my hat off to you, Mellisa. How did it feel under that mask?
It felt wonderful, as you can imagine. It was the point. It was just a funny thing. Now I don't know what to do with my Hillary mask. Well, maybe I can be here for the next 5 years, for Halloween or something. Get some shackles and.
You know what, man? Hopefully, in a couple of months, we just throw it away and we'll never have to think of it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that would be great too. But.
Well, Mellisa, what made you get active here in Nevada, local Las Vegas, all your activities and stuff? What happened?
Well, I kind of had a not so great experience at my caucus, and I kind of got a little feeling of the corruption in locally in our events and stuff. I've heard of it, but I didn't really believe it until I saw it, and I never really realized how crazy it's been. So I started going to an events and volunteering, so that was kind of how I started.
Well, before you, and I want to mention, too, the reason why I asked you to come on the show and to start doing this segment is because just over the course of this summer, I've watched you get more and more active and more high profile. And at the last event we did, out there in 120 degrees at Fremont Street, people don't understand how hot it is,
Yeah.
But the last event we did on Fremont Street, Mellisa took the megaphone and she was leading the chants up and down. She, at one point, she beat this cop off his horse. She knocked him off the horse with it.
Yeah.
No, not really. But she's really taking charge and leading stuff here. So, but what happened at the caucus that you found to be so corrupt?
Well, in my group, there was about 10 Bernie supporters and maybe 8 Hillary supporters, but we also had 5 undecided people. Now, we had 3 observers, but they're supposed to be neutral according, to anything involved with the Democrats, they're not supposed to show their party affiliation.
Right.
And all of them were wearing, I'm with her shirts and like buttons and stuff. And, I was kind of like, oh, I thought they weren't supposed to do that, because I have done like volunteering and stuff, and they say, don't, wear your shirts, don't do this. And they were. Now, we each got, our time to talk to the undecided people and try to somewhat, convince them. Now, we were talking, and, we were practically just reading off Bernie's platform, what he stands for. And, we had some of the Hillary people stand up, and they were saying that they needed to have a woman, president, and, it's very important, where we should have had one like 10 years ago. And, that was kind of weird, because you shouldn't just vote for someone just because they're a woman. And that was kind of like shocking to me, because this was the only reason this woman gave to vote for Hillary, is because she's a woman. We need the right woman if we, have a woman for a president. And I mean, it's kind of shocking. And there was this other like older lady, and she stood up and she's like, well, it's a proven fact that women are better with money. And I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, is this like, it's a serious? And then the observers, they started talking to the Hillary people and, kind of guiding them what to say to us. And, I was a captain there, and the other guy that was a captain, he was talking to them like, oh, hey, you guys are supposed to be, neutral. You're not supposed to, do this. And they just walked over to their group, and they all just kind of like sat there and stuff, and was practically saying, how ridiculous we were being, and, all this other stuff, and just kind of coaching them. And keep in mind, they're just supposed to be sitting there counting the votes, so that was kind of weird to me.
We actually had, the Hillary side had, in my precinct, the Hillary side had 2 precinct captains in the room.
Yeah.
Which is totally unlawful. It's against the rules, Yeah. Well, now, what about at the end when it was time to count, elect delegates? Was there any problem with that? Because in my room, they didn't even know that they were supposed to collect those little yellow pieces of paper.
Yeah, they literally didn't know anything about it, and it was like weird, It's kind of bizarre, because they're literally reading the rule book as they're going along, and they didn't know how to do the delegate math. They didn't know how to do any of this stuff. And I'm showing them, and I'm arguing his math, and I'm going up on the whiteboard in one of the classrooms that I went to, like in basic. I'm writing on the whiteboard the math and how you're supposed to do it. Now this guy, he's arguing with me and stuff, and he was doing his math wrong, and it was like an equal, and it ended up being like an equal like delegate thing. Right. I think we had like maybe one more than them, but it was just kind of the point. I'm like, oh well, who agrees with this? Who you can see, I'm doing this correctly and stuff. And it was just kind of like bizarre. Like there was no like organization at all, and they had no clue what they were doing. So
okay, let me ask you this. Now, when you went for your caucus training, you went through Bernie headquarters, or you went through the Democratic one?
I went through the Bernie headquarters.
I just remembered when you were talking about this, about the part about the delegate math, okay? Because me and Victoria, first we went to Nacho Daddy, to the Democratic meeting they have like once a month, and we went to their caucus training. And I remember when they were getting to the part about all that math, I says, whoa, wait, this is complicated. I says, wait a second. And I raised my hand, and they weren't taking my question. So, I got a little more aggressive. And I says, listen, hey, this part with the math there, is there going to be like a third party there to, verify this math and check the math, make sure it's correct? Because this sounds really complicated. And they're all DNC people, so they're all Hillary people. Oh, yeah, don't worry about a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you can rely on me. Like, no, that's not how any of this works. Like,
how stupid were we back then, you know? We went to one of the Bernie trainings, too, and it wasn't much better. Hey, what about now? I've had a couple of guests on the show, Nico House and Joe Sacco, talking about, and Nico House came up with the stuff about how the Hillary people were infiltrating the Bernie campaign. Did you notice anything like that?
Well, I mean, I kind of, like, right when the caucus started, that's when I started getting more involved about it. I didn't really, notice anything other than the caucus, and that's when I, like, realized, there was corruption in it, and, I never thought that it would get to this point where we are today.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I haven't really noticed anything other than, that kind of stuff. It was just weird because they had 3 people there that were supposed to be observers, and that's what their title was, in the room was observers, and they're over there, talking to the people and coaching them what to say to the people that are, doing this. And the guy was just a complete, like, tard. He was like, I don't know, he didn't know anything about it, like, at all. And so, like, I'm like pointing out the rule book and stuff, and I'm teaching him about it, and it's like, I barely even knew anything myself, so it was just weird. And we had a few people go up there and do the math because, he had no clue what he was doing. He said he got his credentials, like, literally right before it started or whatever, because they were short people, which doesn't really make sense to me.
No, that makes sense, because what I found out too is like all these volunteers, quote unquote, for the DNC.
Yeah.
What it is you know how they have these lobbyists that pay off the politicians, and give them, trips and donations, stuff like that. But these lobbyists also too, they have employees. These big companies, they have employees that they send to volunteer at DNC to fill those positions. That's how they control all this stuff.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, we're fighting back now, right? Let's not get discouraged. We're fighting back. Melissa's leading the charge here. Melissa Freya score. You need a new megaphone, too. By the way, we should set up a GoFundMe for some really good sound equipment for these street actions we've been doing.
Yes.
Now, what's coming up next? I know we got a big thing coming up August 24th. What's that?
Well, Bernie is, I don't know if everyone's aware, but he's continuing his revolution, and he has this new thing called Our Revolution. Now, he's going to be speaking to us, and, he's practically, now for Our Revolution, he's practically saying that we need to focus on our local, like, school districts, Congress, everything, like, locally. Because, the president, they don't take as much charge as our people fighting for, our state locally. So he's having a little live stream on the 24th at 6 o'clock. You can go on goberniesanders.com and you can sign up to host an event where you just have people, come together, because it's nice when you see all of the support, and it's been a hard fight. Everyone's been a little bit emotional, but it's nice to have the support group, and you guys can kind of talk about what you guys can do and maybe come up with some events. But they're looking for a venue. They're going to have maybe 150 people to 300 people, and they wanted to set up an official Bernie event where they're going to set up a projector and we can all watch the thing together locally. They haven't found a venue yet. They're trying to find something that's around $200 with Wi-Fi access and power access. And...
Oh, okay. Now that's here locally in Las Vegas, Nevada, that we're looking for. This group, the bee people, right?
Yes.
Are looking for a group. It's this group. We're all bees, and we're going to, I don't know. Can you explain that, what the bees are?
Okay, well, what it practically is one bee alone, they can go out, they can, chase after somebody. But when they come together, it's a lot stronger and people are a lot more afraid. So it's practically saying, if we stand together, we're stronger together.
Just like
it's not going to work one person fighting. So
right, just like when Winnie the Pooh would go to steal the honey and all the bees would get him, just like that.
Yeah.
Now, what we're going to do is so here in Vegas, we need we want to put on a big event and host it at a location. And I know I did one when I moderated the sheriff's debate. We had a really good spot there. I got to contact those people. But but all across the country, you can sign up at gobernie.com. And if you just want to host something in your house and just meet a lot of cool people, because Bernie people, you got to admit, they're really cool people.
Yeah, they're the best people out there. Every Bernie supporter I talk to, I just have an automatic, connection. Yeah,
and they're so smart.
Because usually, if you're standing behind Bernie, you're pretty good people for all the stuff he supports.
And they usually carrying something they're holding something at 420, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not me. I don't smoke. Now, what's going on right now today? People are going to miss it. It's already too late. But there's an event right now in town with Jill Stein. What's going on with that?
Yeah, there's a event. It starts at 2. I think that there's a live stream, on something. I'm sure there is. But it's practically Bill Clinton's going to be there. Jill Stein, most importantly. But they're just kind of speaking and getting their platforms out. And
yeah, it's Gary Webb too. And what they're speaking in front of the Asian Reporters Organization. Asian and Pacific Islanders have their own news media, and that's the news reporters and stuff for that. I could have got into that. In the future too, we got to work on something too. Get you some kind of press credentials. Get you into these kind of places. Maybe you can do some on the spot recording for us when I can't get out there. Because I had a wonderful interview. Everybody heard the interview I just did with the wonderful Ron Aigner before this. I'm still trying to recover. Thank God Mellisa was here to bail me out. So what else is going on locally coming up? Do you know?
Well, currently it's just our revolution, because they're just kind of, this is like our base and starting point. Everyone's welcome to open, ideas, but we're going to try to volunteer locally, like do phone banking, canvassing, registering people to vote, because, at this point we need to focus on, our area.
Like Ruben De Silva, right? You're supporting Ruben De Silva locally here? Yeah, I'm trying to get him on the show. Hey, by the way, too, there's a very good chance I'm going to get Jill Stein on the show.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Kim over there at the because we did all that work getting him on the ballot, getting Jill Stein on the ballot. Now let me ask you a question too. Now the last time we talked, you were starting to organize a Black Lives Matter event, right?
Yes.
Now let me ask you a question. Now, are you aware that many people think that George Soros donated? Some people say 30 million. 33 million, and there's even some news articles out there that say $303 million to Black Lives Matter. Now, when you were going to organize your Black Lives Matter event, what was your budget for that? How much did George Soros donate to you for that, Mellisa?
They really didn't give us anything.
Not even to your Swiss account, with your Black Lives Matter Swiss bank account? You didn't get any money there?
No, we didn't get one thing. It was all just organized ourselves.
Now,
we've never received any type of support whatsoever. So I call some BS on that.
You had a $15 megaphone, which didn't even work. We have that same. That's a toy megaphone. We have the same one. Okay. Yeah. Now, so now all the Black Lives Matter events, man, no one's getting any money. There's no out of state direction on these things, is there?
No, there's nothing. It's all we practically, everyone just said, oh, bring a case of water. We haven't gotten anything to help support us
or direction, right? We're not getting outside direction to any of these events.
No.
It's all grassroots, right? And you're in touch with the same people I am, right? So it's not like there's something secret going on that we don't know.
No, it's, and I'm part of multiple groups too, and, we haven't had any, support from anybody except for, our volunteers that come out and help us. So it's all been a volunteer basis, so.
And always good people. There's never been any, well, we had a couple of arrests at that night because some guys didn't cross the street fast enough. Is that what happened?
No, we had someone, you're talking about the Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had someone under the influence. So it was practically like public intoxication.
Okay.
Someone got arrested for because in like an open container and stuff. But there were people, that weren't from Black Lives Matter there. They were more like anarchists, just trying to start, things. It got out of control for a little bit, but, we got it back on track and those people left. But yeah, there was people throwing like water bottles at the cops from them. They were a whole nother group that had no like affiliation to us at all, but they came and kind of bomb raided the event. So because there was a lot of people there.
Now, was that on the strip?
Get people upset. No, that was on by the Martin Luther King Jr. Little statue type deal.
Yeah, I know
on that intersection.
Yeah. Now, because here in Vegas on the Strip, you're allowed to. I don't know if you're allowed to, but everyone walks up and down the Strip with open containers.
Yeah.
Galore.
Yeah. I think that's technically Vegas still over there, but yeah, he got in trouble. I talked to him after and stuff, and this guy got in trouble for drinking and stuff.
Oh, you knew the guy?
Yeah, well, I friended him after everything happened.
Okay,
so
that's a good guy.
I wasn't sure. I thought it was something else, but apparently, not. So I had really nothing to do with the protests.
So now, what's the plan now? So now you're going to support Jill Stein? Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, I think that's our best option right now because Jill Stein has the same platform as Bernie, and I'm not going to vote over like lesser of evils and who's worse, because in my eyes they're practically the same. Hillary does have more open like social issues, but I feel like she's just doing it, she's telling the crowd what they want to hear. It's not about anyone else. It's she'll do anything she possibly can to get in there.
I did two really important shows. One with Charles Ortel, who did his investigation into the Clinton Foundation, and another one is with attorney Alice Backer, who's from Haiti. And both of them talked about how the Clinton Foundation and the Clintons have stolen every penny from Haiti. And the Clintons are actually they're the funnel. All the money that gets donated to these earthquake victims in Haiti goes through the Clintons. Because they're on that board down there, the IHRC, which is coincidentally Hillary Rodham Clinton. It's her initials. What a coincidence that is, and all the money goes to her.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't make this up.
Coincidence? Yeah. I think not.
They're stealing from earthquake victims.
How low in life can you be?
Really?
It's like it's worse than taking candy from a baby. Like these people are, losing their homes and. They don't have safe water, to drink. There's all this pollution going on there, and there's some horrible things going on there, and people are getting really sick because all of their stuff is messed up there from all the earthquakes. They don't have proper care. They don't have housing, and to be that low in life that you could take that away from somebody. When people are thinking here, we're helping them out,
right,
and it's practically going in her pocket.
Well,
and she decides what she gets to do with it. So
it's unbelievable. This is a poor country to begin with, and nothing's been done since the earthquake. There's still sporadic electricity, and when you drive from the airport down to these towns, there's still rubble on both sides of the road. This is 5-6 years later. Also, too, Alice Backer talked about how years ago when the Clintons, overthrew the government and stuff down there, and then they weren't allowed to grow their own, I think it was rice, so don't quote me on it, but and they had to import rice from Arkansas, from Bill's friends. And then Hillary's brother has a mining operation down there. He owns a mine, mining all the minerals and gold and stuff like that from Haiti. You can't get worse than this.
Yeah, like how low in life do you need to be? Like you don't have enough money already. Like, I mean, how rich can the rich get? Before the rest of us die out. Well,
what do you think now? Because you're young. Are you optimistic that we could turn this over? That we could get justice, or do you think it's hopeless?
Well, at this point, if we keep going at the rate we are, my future generation, they're not going to have much to, look forward to. Now, Bernie was came in, if he came in maybe 20 years ago and ran, he probably would have, been able to, at least figure some of the stuff out. But it's he wasn't, as Bernie, when he spoke and stuff, it wasn't as crazy as it is when maybe later on in his campaign where everyone was just everything he said and they agreed with, and you just got the chills listening to him speak. And I feel like Bernie was our last hope, because in 4 years we're just gonna die out as a species, and all the global warming stuff going on. He was kind of our last straw. And then, I didn't know too much about the Green Party until, a few months ago. I started looking into it, and going to meetings and stuff with people that were representing, the Green Party, just kind of, talking about it. And they have the same platform. So, I mean, if Jill Stein doesn't work out, we just need to focus on our local levels and, hope for the best.
Yeah, we definitely have to focus on the local levels. But I'll tell you this, I am optimistic in a lot of ways. A year ago, when Victoria was all excited about, because this is her first election she's following, she's 15 years old. Yeah. And I said, you know what, if Bernie gets 20% of the vote, that'll be a big deal. And we take those people behind Bernie, we organize those people, because these people are tuned in, they know what we're talking about. And here we got 46% of the vote, and we got robbed on top of that. So we can take these people and organize these people. And now the savvy folks, they understand that this is a popular movement. People want this. People are hungry for a more left-leaning government. They're tuned into the 1%. They know we're getting ripped off. They know we're living like slaves, and so someone else will pop up to market this same pitch that Bernie had. We just got to hope that they're a decent person, honest person. We got to keep an eye on that, because what's her name? Elizabeth Warren turned out to be a total sellout.
I was shocked about that. I was because I thought she was gonna stand by Bernie 100%, the way she was talking, everything. And then as soon as he's not the Democratic nominee, she's like, oh well, I support Hillary now.
$24 a beads, $24 in beads they gave her. Yeah, to tell about. But and I think, you know what, I got to tell you something. I'm hearing a lot of stuff that a lot of guys around them sold out to. It seems like Nina Turner's still with them, but a lot of the guys, the surrogates you see, a lot of them seem to have, went with the money too.
Yeah.
So.
And it's unfortunate that's what we've come to, but it's just a shock.
I know what you mean. All right, anything you want to leave us with before we got to go?
No, I think I practically got it.
What about if people want to get a hold of you and say, Mellisa, Freya Score, I have a venue I want to give you, or I have a megaphone I want to give you?
Well, they can, email me just to keep in contact. We're open to any ideas. If you ever want to get an event together or anything, you can just email me or, Facebook message me, whatever is easiest for you. So
yeah, Facebook is Mellisa Freya, Freya Score, and you know what I'll do? I'll have a link up. I'll put a picture and a link up on the Opperman Report blog, so everybody can get a hold of Mellisa here if we want to organize something here locally in Las Vegas. Mellisa, Freya, Score, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.